So, hi Manoj and
Hi.
yeah, Shyam, both of you. So, I'm Shaji. I mean, we know each other properly. Yeah, we met at Toronto.
Hi, sir.
Hi, yeah. Nice to meet you again. I mean, meet you. Uh, can you please tell me? This is a very surrealistic kind of film, and this is your first film.
Yes.
Yes, sir. This is our first film.
So, how could you reach that your first film itself be based on this kind of a theme or this kind of a visual shape? You decided that this will be the first film. How do you arrive at that point? Can you explain? I mean, both of you can speak one after another. I mean,
Yeah.
in turn. Either way, it's okay.
Okay.
It's
No,
fine.
it's we are both from film school. So LV Prasad, we 10 years back around that time we were studying.
Okay.
So it is a continuation of that kind of work that we were doing.
Together.
So uh, so I know the question also. You're asking how did we come out to the real world and try and make this choice. So we
Yeah.
didn't actually make this choice. So we tried to make another film and things like that happened. But we wanted to get something like this done written in the meanwhile. And G Rajesh, our writer,
Yeah.
when he showed us the script, we thought, okay, fine. As it is, we are fighting to make a film. We might as well fight to make something that is really close to us and which is worth the time that we are putting into it. So a lot of us have worked 10 years back on similar films in our diploma, and we are a team. Karthik Muthukumar, our DOP, Giridharan, our editor. So Shyam, all of us have been together from that time. We have been, in terms of content, it was very similar to what this film is. Similar, but this is a vastly, for a different medium, bigger length, and a lot of work has gone into writing it.
Yeah, I think my answer was also going to be similar to what Manoj said, which is that I think at some point you sort of decide that there is no way I'm going to leave this film without completing it. And that entirely comes from the script. The minute we read the script or rather heard the narration from Rajesh, I think at some point we decided, even if this is going to take uh, how much ever time this is going to take, we are going to see this through till we finish the film. And to give you an idea, it is a film that started its journey in 2016 as a script and 17 as a collaborative process once we got involved as well. So it's been a long 4 to 5 year journey, reading up, researching and then writing and then pre-production. So somewhere we just decided that somehow this film needs to come to life, and we have to just stick by it till it's complete. So it maybe was not a call like, okay, first film like this, second film like that. And like Manoj
Yeah.
said, we had actually set up office for a film in 2015, which may well have been our first film back then. But due to different production reasons, that was a very different, more of a
Yeah.
commercial gangster kind of a film. Of course, dealing with surrealist themes and magical themes as well. It was not a straightforward commercial film,
Commercial.
but it definitely was one that was, how do I put it? Uh, it was more easier for audiences to take in than Kuthiraivaal itself.
Okay. So it was both ways. Like the film, the script came to you, and you also were involved for a longer period to give the final shape of the film. Uh, and also, like that if you think about it, there are few precedents in Indian cinema, leave alone Tamil. This kind of filmmaking, like very maybe we can just think about Manikaul's film or Pavitran's one film is there. So very distant kind of thing. So almost a pioneering kind of thing, kind of a cinema. I felt. I mean, this is my personal opinion. So, but still, and also it requires a lot of. It demands something from the audience. It's not a easy win, obviously. So, how is the audience response? Have you shown it to many festivals outside India, or can you just explain and tell us something about that?
Firstly, thank you, sir, for calling it a pioneering work, because that, like, coming from you, that makes us feel very fulfilled. Like, it's been. I mean, only now have we started to see how the film is doing with a live audience at IFFK. So for us, IFFK was we approached it with a thought that, we, whatever the audience response is, we want to accept it. But the response has been tremendous. Like, so many
Yeah,
people have reached out to us on social media, and also after the screening, interactions outside the theater have been very enriching, because a lot of people are finding this work to be very stimulating more than anything else. And at a time when I feel like a lot of the films that are coming out are, uh, I mean, they're exploring different avenues, and obviously each one has their own expression. But
expressions.
uh, there is a feeling that they are just sticking within some stereotypes. And from the very start, I think Kuthiraivaal, we wanted it to be a novel film. We wanted it to be something new, something that is not just genre defining or film defining,
So,
uh, like, in some sense we wanted it to be uh, a work that will stand the test of time. Uh, I mean, of course, those are all just ideas. They're just like hopes and dreams that we have. But our wish is that the film will stand the test of time.
yeah,
And we had this. We were always going for the theater as a space. We liked it. We liked the big canvas, the theater presence. If you've
yeah,
seen the film in theater, then thanks to IFFK, we got the opportunity to actually see it in a big screen.
big,
Until then, we hadn't. Yeah, big screen. With
yeah,
we had also done an extensive sound design for the film. So for us, it was this space, huge space, and a lot of people. That was what we wanted. We were essentially designing the experiential aspect of the film. We had that in mind, and we were thinking of audience there in a huge space, in a watching in a huge canvas called theater. So at some level, for us, just fighting for the theatrical space is going to be still a battle. We are trying, because
of
we are
course.
not negating any audience. We want them to. We made the film in such a way that we wanted to show it. And coincidentally, this year, IFFK itself was split into four zones, and then people in Palakkad and Talassery are watching it. So that is the kind of people that we want to reach out through this film, because now, because of the various hegemonies that are set in the industry, only certain kind of films are allowed to be made for that. So there is actually no space literally for films that are the other way, except for the festival industry. So in a way that even so it's been very interesting, the audience reaction. So it validates our own uh, thesis of trying to go
Expectations.
for it. And yeah, because there is a structure that's stopping you from reaching out to that audience, nothing else. The audience is
Yeah,
kind of
Yeah.
looking forward. That's the feeling that we got.
I mean,
yeah,
somewhere you feel like the what people decide to be commercial, or what people decide people want, audiences want, may not actually be what audiences want.
but
And the idea of audience itself is so, um, how to put it, I mean, you can't just call it ABC center, or try
yeah,
and break it into portions like that so easily. Because when you have an in-depth conversation with someone from say Talasheri or Palakkad, I mean, basically you will find, I feel like you might find that their perspectives on life are very different from what you perceive to be your typical C-center audience. So in some way, we also want to break those ideas, and we feel like there is something within this film that any audience will be able to grasp, that any audience will be able to appreciate. Of course, there is a it is a complex film, and there are a lot of things, and it's highly dense and everything. But I feel like like I'm talking about my personal experience of reading the script as well. There are a lot of things that are blind spots for me within the script itself the first time I read it. And similarly, I feel every audience member is going to find something in the film that is new and novel, and something they haven't experienced before. And whatever are their prior experiences are determining that experience of watching the film itself. Someone who has perhaps grown up in Tamil Nadu and knows the nuances of MJR and MJR's symbolism might perceive the film in a certain way, whereas someone sitting in Berlin who probably has read about has read Sigmund Freud in the flesh, in the in the text, might perceive psychoanalysis as dealt with in the film in a very different way. So uh, it's different for different people. The experience of the film was designed like that.
Yeah, I think I was precisely coming to that point itself. Like, the Saravanan, the central character of the film is, calls himself Freud. Then there is Lacan, Borges coming in. So all these psychoanalysis theory, mind, everything works in different, uh, interrelated, but at the same time, taking its own ways, its own labyrinth of, mind working. So how did you no, can you tell us that process? Because these psychoanalysis things were already moved in the script, or you reached on it and after discussions. What is your take?
The
The
script,
script was, yeah,
yeah.
Shyam.
No, the script had was very detailed. Like literally, all the themes that are explored in the film were there in the script from a dialogue standpoint. It was not We did not ever change any sort of dialogue or anything of that sort. The themes of psychoanalysis and uh, all the small elements of the film. In fact, Rajesh, Manoj, and I sat for about 6 months just trying to decode what are the elements within the script itself. And that is, like you said, it's a labyrinth, right? Once you start reading about one thing, that will take you to the next turn in the labyrinth, and then from there to the next, and then soon you're like going in circles within literature, because literature itself is such a vast subject. Literature and studies and philosophy is a vast subject, and it almost became like a study for us to research for the film became a study of philosophy, and I feel like we're just at the starting point of it. So yeah.
Does
Manoj?
Manoj want to say something?
Yeah, the script was
Almost.
bound, so nothing,
Okay.
nothing that we added. Rajesh had written it. It was just us trying to get on board and understand what is happening. And we had read fiction like this. So in terms of material, we had read books like this, and fiction and novels had operated or continuing to operate in a similar zone. So it was just about also for us uh, trying to get that density, and how do we deal it in a completely different medium where uh, there are different sensory experiences on offer for compared to a book. So it was a completely different kind of translation once we got the script. So that was the challenge. We didn't add particularly anything inside it. It was just about translating it on screen.
And as you mentioned, MGR is almost like a, demigod, has a demigod status in Tamil Nadu, and he's almost a myth kind of thing. So even the film MGR is all over there. So what you wanted to convey? through MGR, like which routes you wanted to explore, which you how do you see that angle of that film?
But through MGR, I don't think we are particularly conveying anything.
Yeah,
MGR is kind of like
itself
the
is
anchor point in all the different realms
different.
that we are accessing. So we are taking you uh, into several dimensions of his thought, and there's kind of like a collective conscious memory that we are dealing with. So a lot of it, everything is iconic. Like all the icons are having kind of a conversation in these realms along with our character. So MGR, I feel, is that anchor point of, because he's so many things and he's so powerful a symbol that you can build something around. If you There are parallels to MGR inside the story. To there is that Drishti Bommai who's also watching the world. There's a small story about that. So in a sense, MGR is still alive also. Like if you walk on the
Yeah,
streets and there's someone from outside of the country, they will see so many representations of MGR that it is easy for them to even think that he's still alive. So that kind of anchor point, and he was available, and he's also a political figure. So because this is a very meta film about film
yeah,
and stuff like that, so MGR is one of those guys who used the medium, and then he was like a
yeah.
super. Nobody will believe outside of, if you go tell it to someone from outside India, they won't believe this character
Believed,
was
yeah.
the chief minister,
Instead of
and he was a filmmaker, a popular hero. He had everything going, cinema here. So we wanted to play on that kind of and cinema can
correct.
easily be misrepresented. It can easily come to mean truth. Like
Yeah,
it looks so much like reality that it can easily, but in fact it's a huge reduction. Like all other things, it's a reduction. So it kind of plays into our naivety of what we watch on screen. So maybe we are questioning the naivety of the view that we have of MGR, to answer your question.
I also think that within the world constructed of Kuthiraivaal, um, the thing is, every one of our team members had a different uh, perspective on each of the portions of the story. So, if you have a, like right now you have Shyam and Manoj in front of you, but if the rest of the crew members were there, we would end up having a half an hour, 1 hour discussion with each of us having our own interpretations of
difference.
each of
Yeah,
the themes within the film. And I think very early on in the pre-production phase, we decided that we can't have a singular perspective on either MGR or any other element within the film. So I will have a different perspective, Manoj will have a different perspective, and ultimately, though, we have all been born in a time that either we were very young when MGR was still alive, or he had passed away before we were born. So throughout, we are essentially Tamil Nadu itself. We have been living in a post MGR
era.
world of the last 30 years. It's an era of like 30 years where his image is still on the streets. We have never seen the man, but we have seen his films, we have seen his posters, and I mean, I can't help but appreciate the comedy of the situation. That this was a man who won elections by, there are stories
Huge
about
amount.
how people used to donate blood uh, to
Yeah,
the government, and with the money, that 10 rupees that they get from that donation, they will go watch films of MGR. So that was the level of connection that MGR was. And today, 30
sure.
years later, how do we perceive that history? And in some way, the entire film is talking a lot about history and or rather uh, uh, what is that word? New historicism, no, Manoj? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
So yeah, so reimagining history from a very Foucault point of view, and
beautiful.
also with a lot of irreverence within the filmmaking format, because once we kind of realize that cinema is not truth, and cinema is essentially just a reduction format, then we don't need to worry about what is truth and what is lie. We can just have fun with it. And so after a point, our perspective just becomes a lot of fun. And within that, we hope there is some truth that the audience can infer and not be told. So that's where we are on the MGR uh, front.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, I think. As you said, like, each crew member, like the team of the film, the audience also will be having, their own versions of the film, and you're allowing them to explore their own takes of the film. That's very important because instead of spoon feeding or force feeding, that's how, as you said, like, B class, C class, and A's, and all those notions are broken. Actually, I mean, there are audience, there are people willing to take this, but unfortunately, we are not in a, we don't have a structure where you can reach out to people. That's a, I mean, of course, a larger question which will not have any easy solutions. At the same time, as you said, like, I'm also fascinated by this thing that uh, by Saravanan's experience, you are asking the viewer or the audience to look at the other side, the unknown side. You're just looking at the past, your present experience of different kinds, like, it can be physical, mental, it can be different. But there is an another side which is untold, which is not visible to you. You can think about, you can make up. So this is what I got from the film. I mean, like, so this is always asking you to open up. That kind of a thing is asked to us. So that I felt very kind of fantastic feeling about that film. And so this also came, as a process of the film. As you said, there is also, interpreting kind of lots of text into that film, just not just literature but philosophy. Everything is mixed into it, and also the music also. When you play this Vivaldi thing, when there is a this thing and this Vivaldi is put into this, all this uh, together tend to create a magical kind of thing from the film. So, okay, I'm just I'm telling you my experience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mm,
no, it's
So,
nice to
so
hear.
it's,
So
yeah.
mm, mm.
So I think that's something very unique, but at the same time, of course, the film festival audience is not that, they're not very film pundits. They are just
Mm.
open to new things, and it's exciting that the film was able to evoke that kind of response, or people are willing to uh, uh, negotiate with new kind of thought process. And also, you're saying, like, this maybe the I mean, DOP and the editor must have played a key role in making this visual structure. So how could you? I mean, they were also part of your team from the earlier, let's say.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we have been working together for a long time. Karthik Muthukumar was
Yeah, Karthik.
so for so he of course the visual design, he's the main guy who designed the entire thing from pre-production when we were working together. And a lot of us, like, there are some 7-8 of us had uh, complete storyboards like of the film. So there we had visual cues from everyone. We were reading upon an article that Karthik brought of Manikol, called Scene from Nowhere, which is a very interesting article. We have been working on a visual side from our diploma film, so this was kind of like a extrapolation on the visual side. Definitely, the edit itself also was a extremely collaborative effort. Giridharan oversaw the whole thing, and we spent some 6-7 months doing
Just
various.
editing.
Uh, the original length of the film was vastly different, so it coincidentally it was Karthik who is also our editing consultant in the film. He was the first person to start cutting the film in a slightly different way, and then we explored the alternate structures. and that's how we arrived at it. So Giridharan just oversaw the entire thing and then shaped it along. So yeah, the fact that we've known them for a long time and we are used to working together, that helped a lot, and we were able to collaboratively, strengthen it with. Thanks to our producer, we also had the time to work on it.
Yeah, I think as Manoj said, the during pre-production, the idea of arriving at this visual design was a very I'm very envious of that process. Like the Shyam that is here right now is wishing that he can go back to that process because it was so uh, stimulating for the mind.
Stimulating.
We worked in a structure where everyone, I mean, it became very open and free for everyone to collaborate and to contribute. So uh, if you were to come to our office, you would find all the walls filled with paintings, and we had like a mini museum starting from the prehistoric, the cave paintings to Ajanta Ellora, and then this side it goes into the Japanese, Chinese painting, and then I mean block paintings, then Renaissance, then the impressionism. I mean, basically, it was a very uh, it was almost like going back to film school in that sense, where we're really looking back to what people have how people have used the visual medium to express. And a lot of that was helmed by Karthik Muthukumar, because he comes from a background of uh, exploring different media. And I think the idea that we don't need to look at linear perspective in a very fixed manner, or rather that the idea of linear perspective comes to us through watching Renaissance paintings was a revelation for us, to think that before that they did not think of it like that. And even after that, you had your cubism and everything, where the idea of how to look at a face, or how a face is to be imagined, uh, broke that barrier in our mind. And once that breaks, then the possibilities became endless, and that's what caused the camera to stop worrying about a horizon, worrying about
Horizon.
being straight. And and then, like Manoj said, the Manikaul's scene from nowhere was able to explain to us the feelings that we were having. He was able to put down on paper the whatever it is that we were discussing as concepts. So it was I mean, that was revelatory. And also Raul Ruiz was a big visual inspiration for us, poetics of cinema. And in fact, I watched Raul Ruiz's films first in IFFK. So
Yeah.
thanks to IFFK, I discovered that filmmaker in the retrospective that year.
Oh,
So
that's great to
that
hear.
yeah, so that's how it all started. Right? So from there, once the edit process, like Manoj said, uh, was a big collaborative effort where we would essentially, I would edit one day, I would have an entire day on the edit, and then I would take the next day off, and Manoj would have the
No
next day
children.
entirely to edit. And then we just had a rule that the next person who comes to edit can't start from a previous version. So you just kept on having newer and newer versions
Your
without.
versions.
Yeah, so there was no single author of that edit uh, ultimately. And I think one key breakthrough was when we realized that we can edit like our dreams and mind works, which is that one thing doesn't need to finish before the next thought comes. We can our minds are constantly having five different stories simultaneously being played out. Like I mean, when you're recollecting, you forget things, and suddenly the things that you forgot suddenly come back. So so to realize that we can physically with the footage that we have, we can modify it to feel like a memory, to feel like a dream. The entire film, that is,
Yeah.
was a big breakthrough for us. And then that just changed the edit entirely. The first cut was almost 3 hours long. So
Okay.
from a 3 hour long film to come down to a 2 hour long film with losing just two scenes, was what we felt was the rewriting of the script. um, the 3 hour version had all the scenes in full, whereas the 2 hour version now still has all the scenes, but it's been jumbled up together into a manner that is almost a rewriting process. So I can very confidently say that the film was rewritten on the edit, but that process was great. It was not it was not conservative. It was actually liberatory to cut down.
Okay. And one connection I make of this structure of the film is that it's like it's like a folk tale. It also explores elements of folk tales, and also it always goes back to memories, your roots, and then again forcing us to look back and then think again, like that kind of thing. So have folk tales ever charmed you or prompted you to look deeper into the possibilities of visual storytelling, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think uh, I think there's this quote. I think was it Joseph Campbell something. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, but I think he says something like, "Dream is a personalized myth, and myth is a collective dream." So,
Exactly.
in that sense, I feel like ultimately what lasts the test of time is a myth that is a collective dream. And of course, we can never claim to be authors of that myth, because no one is an author of a myth. And
Of course.
you don't also know what will become a myth later on. Today, I mean, the next myth might be Rajinikanth. Yesterday's myth might be MGR.
Yeah.
Who knows what is going to become a? I mean, maybe the meme, that Doge meme might become the next myth. Who knows?
Yeah.
But um, yeah, so the idea of using or rather the idea of myth has always been something that has fascinated us. Of course, I haven't been able to finish that Joseph Campbell book and all that, but it's still like whenever I open it and read it, there's still something to discover from it. And yeah, I think the idea of folk tales and the way in which folk tales are told uh, somehow appeal to me immensely.
Yeah. Okay. And how was the funding for the film? Who produced it?
So basically, we
You.
searched 1.5 years. We tried pitching it
This.
to most people that we could pitch to, but Ranjit sir was on board after that initial period of
Manoj,
struggle. But we still needed
your
a
your voice did break.
okay.
It is clear here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is clear actually here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
That was something my
Okay.
end.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
so once
Yes.
Ranjit sir was on board, we needed still an investor to come in, and there was not much hope. But luckily, I met an old friend who came back into my life. His name is Vignesh Sundaresan, and we started a company, and he was our producer. So now we have a company, and we are looking to produce more films.
Okay.
So
And and do you think that you will stick to this? You'll be exploring different genres, or like you have something in mind. Uh, what will be your this thing next thing? And you will
no,
work together as a team. That's also I'm curious to know, like our audience.
we are open to it. Mm.
I think here I would also want to add that Vignesh is a very interesting person. Like as a producer, uh, I mean, of course, we had like a lot of freedom to explore what we wanted to within this film. But I think he also has a perspective to the sort of films that he wants to make, and the sort of I wouldn't say causes, but sort of art forms that he wants to support and produce. So definitely, I think there is a perspective that with which he has started Yari Films, and I think that there will be a lot to come from Yari films in the future.
Oh, that's quite exciting.
Mhm.
So, and what is the how the film is traveling? Is it going to any other festivals? Is planned or
So immediately right now, it's playing at Berlin Critics Week,
oh okay,
which was a great
yeah,
start for us after
sure,
IFFK.
yeah,
I think Berlin itself is a very prestigious place to premiere, and then within that
sure,
to be at the Critics Week is in some manner even more prestigious because they support
no doubt,
the Critics Week itself supports films that um, otherwise find it difficult to find a space or find a platform to voice
platform,
their views. So in that sense, Critics Week is a great place, and the debates that I've started to listen to on their platform over the last couple of days has been very eye-opening. The
okay,
sort of discussions and the sort of dialogue that is happening there is great. So we're like super uh, happy to be at Berlin Critics Week right now. We also do have a debate on the 6th of March. So if
okay,
perhaps if you join in, it would be great to see. It's on YouTube
oh
itself.
okay,
Perhaps I can
okay,
send you the link now.
sure,
This it is going to be screened at Jaffna, uh, Jaffna International Film
film
Festival. So for us also that's like because Yari's I mean Jaffna's real name is Yarpanam.
yeah, yeah,
So
okay,
so to feel it feels like we're going back home in some sense, you know.
okay,
Our production in Yari as I'm saying, we after Jaffna, we will be screening at a
definitely,
festival called CineQuest,
yeah,
which is in the United States, and also a festival that, from what I read about, it seems like a festival that's very good for debut filmmakers.
that is,
A lot of films get discovered there, so I'm hoping that our film also uh, somehow finds its home there. And I think after IFFK, honestly, there has been it's like like a box of olives. No, once the first one comes out,
comes in,
the
yeah,
other people seem quite interested in screening the film, and we have also got a couple of queries. Of course, we're yet to respond and see what to do next. But March is a jam-packed month. This is in
quite good, yeah. Okay. I wish that the film at the end of the day it makes to the theaters at least in a limited way and for the big screen. People are just allowed to see it at least.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank
I think it was nice talking to you. I mean, uh, if we take time and then we can go on for another 1 hour maybe, but for the sake of the format, we can. I think we can
you. Sure.
conclude. You want to say? You want to add something, Manoj or Shyam?
No,
No,
sir.
I just wanted to thank you, guys.
I also wanted to do that, sir. I just wanted
Yeah.
to
Okay.
Okay.
and IFFK as
Yeah.
well, sir, because it's great. It's great to have our premiere at IFFK, and it was such an experience to watch it on the big screen. And everyone at the festival was so helpful and kind. We had a great experience there. Both the Trivandrum and Kochi screenings. Unfortunately, we missed the Talasheri and Palakkad
Palakkad.
screenings, but but it was a fantastic experience for us, and it was very well organized. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind
Thank
words.
you.
Thank you.